Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 18th Feb today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. But before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we are going to discuss three types of questions, which would be from three different sources. In the first type of questions, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss questions with respect to current affairs. What we will do here? We will take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We will try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we will try to discuss the possible previous questions which can be asked from these particular articles, so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading these news articles, and how you can expect a possible prelims from these news articles. This is what we are going to do in the first part of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the second part. Here we will discuss questions from the static topics. Currently we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity, we are discussing the office of the vice president under Indian constitution. So today we are going to discuss few topics related to that, and we'll try to derive the possible preliminary question from that particular topic, which we will discuss here, so that it will give the idea how questions can be asked in the exam. So with this, after discussing questions with respect to current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion, where we will discuss questions from previous year question book. To me, this is the most important part, because in here we learn what is the vocabulary which the UPSC examiner uses for framing your paper, what are the different methods or what are the different trends they follow when they frame your papers, and what can be the different methods by which we can solve the questions if we don't have the proper knowledge, and also we'll learn how we can implement this knowledge in the upcoming exam. This is in nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now, before we will start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel. When you subscribe us, it helps, it motivates us to work more hard on these videos to provide you the best information possible. And please do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. And please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you and what do you feel about the video. Now with this, without wasting any time, let's have a look at the first question which we had brought today. As here on the screen, you can categorically see that the question is basically about the constitutional morality. Question is about the constitutional morality. Before we'll go to the context of this question, let's solve the question first, get the idea about the question, then we will discuss what is the context why we are discussing this question, and we will dig deep into the topic. Here the question says, which of the following statements best reflects the concept of constitutional morality as understood in the Indian context? you know I guess we need to I guess we need to give the brief introduction about the constitutional morality, then we will solve the question. About the constitution, we know it is the sacred book. It is the highest book of the land, from where we derive the laws. We had discussed about that. Everything when we in our separate lectures, what constitution it is the ground norm where from laws are derived, where from which restricts the powers of the government. So this is what the constitution is. It forms the law. It is the ground norm. It is the highest book of the land. It is the sacred book of the land, and from the constitution we derive the laws, and it restricts the laws, it separates the departments, and it does everything which makes the government run smoothly. And it can be democratic. Constitution can be democratic, it can be undemocratic, it can be authoritarian, depends upon the nature of the constitution. It can be written, it can be unwritten constitution. We had discussed it with respect to that, and I assume that you had also you were also taught about that when you had gone to any institute or from the book which you are using. This is constitution. And what does the morality mean? Very simple. Respect. Morality means respect. Respect. What we have to respect here, what does the constitution provide us? So constitutional morality means the respect for the constitution. For whom? This constitutional morality is for whom? It is for the people of the nation, people of the country. It is for the policymakers, for the government. It is for the institutions. It is for the judiciary. It is for the executive, so that everybody in the country have to respect the constitution. This is in simplest terms you can understand what constitutional morality means. So I hope you had got the basic understanding about this term constitutional morality. Now let's solve the question. First statement says adherence to the formal rules and procedures laid down in the constitution irrespective of societal values. So let's keep it here. It says which of the following statements best reflects the concept of constitutional morality as understood in the Indian context. First statement adherence to the formal rules and procedures laid down in the constitution irrespective of social values. Second statement respect for the core values enshrined in the constitution including liberty, equality, fraternity, justice even when they conflict with the popular opinion. This seems the most correct one and it is correct. Respect the core values what are enshrined in the constitution. For example, in the 90 in the Keshwananda Bharti case, when it was highlighted that basic features of the constitution were highlighted, it showed that the constitution, there are the fundamental rights, they can be amended. Constitution can be amended, but the core feature of the constitution, they are the basic features of the constitution. We have to adhere to them, we have to restrict, we have to give respect to them, and we have to conserve them, the core features of the constitution. So this is the correct option, this is the correct definition of the question here, which asks us which of the following statements best reflects the concept of constitutional morality as understood in the Indian context. Second statement respect for core values enshrined in the constitution including liberty, equality, fraternity, justice even when they conflict with the popular opinion. This is exactly what it is talking about. Then the third statement, it says blind obedience to the government of the day as it is democratically elected and thus reflects the will of the people. This is totally incorrect. Even though the constitutional morality, when it was introduced, when it was discussed by the framers of the constitution, Dr. Ambedkar brought it. There was a discussion over it that if people won't respect the constitution, then it will not uh, be successful one. When constitution is not respected, when the book is not respected, then it will not be able to control the democracy, it will not be able to control the country. So it was very much important for them, to discuss the morality of the constitution, the respect, to give it the sacred nature, to give it the highest nature in the country. So this was very much important, but at the same time this was discussed. Suppose if the constitution itself is given the sacred nature, can we amend it, can we go against it? And to this we had seen, we have the, we had discussed in the earlier statement, in the statement 2, when in the Keshwananda Bharti judgment, the fundamental features of the constitution were brought in. Those were the fundamental features there, those we don't have to touch them, but rest which are against the opinion of the people, which are against the nature of the modern world, those can be restricted, those can be changed, but those can be questions, but the basic feature of the constitution, that has to be preserved. This is what this constitution morality is all about. It does not mean if we give the sacred position to the constitution that we cannot amend them. We can exactly amend them. We had seen it used in the various judgments of the various judgments by the Supreme Court. For example, we had seen it it was used in the Puthuswamy judgment versus Union of India, when the right to privacy was added, in it, right to life and liberty. In it, the right to privacy was also given the fundamental right. Also in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India, we had seen it being used, and also in the government of NCT of Delhi versus the Union of India, it has been used at various stages by the Supreme Court itself and shown the importance of the constitutional morality. At the same, in sometimes we had seen how it added to the constitution, how it it added to the constitution few other values, and at some time we had seen how it represented the constitution. It restricted the central government, while for example in the government of NCT of Delhi versus the Union of India, how it restricted, it enshrined it, showed that the values, the powers of the elected government in NCT of Delhi. And at several times we had seen how it has restricted the money laws which were formed. So we had seen the constitutional morality. So obedience to the government is not what the constitutional morality in India is about. Fourth statement, obedience to the government, blind obedience to the government, to be more precise. Fourth statement, prioritizing the interest of one's own community or power over the principles of the constitution, totally incorrect. This is totally incorrect. This is totally against the constitutional morality. So with respect to this question, what is the correct option? Correct option is respect for the core values enshrined in the constitution. This is the correct option. Now we are left with the option 1. Let's see what does it talk about. It says adherence to the formal rules and procedures laid down in the constitution in respect of social values. Even though it seems correct, but it is not. It is not fully correct. Sometimes societal values are respected, sometimes societal values lead to the change into the constitution. So to this, the correct option is option B. Now coming to our question, why we had brought this question, why we discussed this question, because there was a discussion over the constitutional morality in the newspaper today, which basically talked about its origin, and what does it talk about, what does it represent. As we know, if we talk about its origin, it basically originated in the in the Greek itself. It is highly, this constitutional morality, it is highly discussed, debated concept in different parts of the world. How, what does it exactly mean, what does it exactly show? To be more precise, to be more clear about the constitutional morality, to be more you know limited to understand it, in the limited words to understand it, the constitutional morality means respect for the constitution. Respect, what does it say? Respect, what does it enshrine in? What is the core concept of the constitution? This is what in the Indian context, the core concept of the constitution is enshrined under the Keshwananda Bharati judgment, which is the fundamental feature of the constitution. This is what it says, this is what it exactly talks about. And it has been, the constitutional morality has been used at various places in the various judgments, as we had noted here in the Patu Swami judgment, when the right to privacy was introduced as the fundamental right, and also in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India, and also the government of NCT of Delhi versus Union of India. These are few cases which highlight the constitutional morality being used. So with this, I hope you had understood the concept. It is little difficult to understand, sometimes it is very much confusing, but I tried my best to make it very much simple for you guys. I hope you had understood it. Now with this, let's move to the another question and see what we had brought on the another screen. Here the question is with respect to the Rose Revolution of 2003. Before we will jump into the context of this question, let's try to solve the question here, and then we will jump into the context. From here, from the map here, you would have understood what it is all about. Now let's solve the question. The question says the Rose Revolution of 2003. The Rose Revolution of 2003, which led to the resignation of Edward Swordness, took place in which of the following countries? These are the color revolutions. Before jumping into the context, let's solve the question. It took place in Georgia. Now, why we are discussing it today? Because in 2023, a government was elected in Georgia, which is very much pro Russia, and it was seen that there was direct involvement of Moscow in the elections of the Georgia. And this Rose Revolution, which was preached as the very peaceful protest against this in 2003 itself, and it was then very much deadly, and it has been revoked, we can say, in a way that there are again protests in Georgia against the government, against the elected government which was elected there, and they believe that it was there was huge fraud in the elections, and there was direct involvement from the Russia. So that's why it is in news. Rose Revolution, it is about Georgia. So with respect to this, we need to know what are the different color revolutions which were used by Western world against the Russia, against the Russia pro governments. For example, in Ukraine, in Kyrgyzstan, tulip revolution was used. In Kyrgyzstan, tulip revolution was used. In Ukraine, there is also a code for the Ukraine. In Ukraine, orange revolution, it was used. Orange revolution was used for Ukraine. So these are different color revolutions used in different countries. Basically, it's it originated from 2003, 2004 and 2005 itself. In 2004 in Ukraine was the Orange Revolution, and in 2005 in Kyrgyzstan it was the Tulip Revolution. So these are some color revolutions which were sponsored by the West and the US against the against the governments which were pro Russia. So here we understood the Rose Revolution. We understood what is their core concept, why they are why it is in news, and what were the core concepts behind these color revolutions. Now here, as Georgia is in news right now, so question about the nearby states, its borders can be asked in the exam, as it has been the trend of the US. So sorry, it has been the trend of the UPSC. So let's understand what are the bordering countries of the Georgia. Here one is Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia. These are the four countries which border Georgia in different directions. So you need to know about that. And the sea which is bordering it is Black Sea. So with this, I hope you had understood the question, and also the map surrounding map based questions which can be asked with respect to Georgia. Now let's move to the another slide and see what we had brought there. Here the question is basically about, as you can see, the question is about the Mahakumbh Mela. We had discussed about Mahakumbh Mela in very much detail, and repeating the same question does not make sense. And why we are discussing it today? Because there was stampede incidents had happened with respect to Mahakumbh Mela in Delhi. We had seen how people died in the railways of Delhi, in New Delhi railway station, how people died. We had discussed it with respect to stampede, how it acts, how crowd behaves, and anything which is uneven act in the crowd, it leads to the stampede, and it can lead to the deaths of the people. We had discussed that, and there is no need to discuss the same thing again and again. But here we'll understand a different point which we had not touched yet in our discussion, so that we will understand through this question. Here the question says the Mahakumbh Mela, a massive pilgrimage for Hindus, is held at the confluence of which of the following rivers? It is Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. So correct option would be option B. This question can be asked, sometimes these questions become very much confusing, so we need to know about that. Now with this, let's move to the another question and see what we had brought. Here the question is with respect to Aravali Safari Park project. Aravali Safari Park project. This project has got eyeballs because first, this project is it is the project which is highlighted by the Haryana government. They want to develop this the Aravali Safari Park project, to attract the tourism in the particular place. So what will they do in it? They will they will develop these parks for the tourists. It would be separate over 3,800 hectares of. It would be separate over 3,800 hectares of forest land to promote tourism. You know, and in this park the animals would be caged, and it will attract the main concept is to attract the tourism. So but there are some you know criticism against this project, because the huge number of forests would be cut down, huge number of trees would be cut down. And with respect to that, why it is in news, why it had got eyeballs, many forest officers, they had sent a letter to the PM to stop this project. Many forest officers, retired forest officers had sent the letter to the PM to stop this project. So this is the whole concept behind it. Now let's solve the question. It may be important for your prelims. It says the Aravali Safari Park project, sometimes seen in the news, is associated with which of the following activities? Promoting ecotourism and wildlife conservation in the Aravali range. 100% correct. So this question is 100%. This statement is 100% correct with respect to the question. Another statement, establishing a large scale solar power plants. Incorrect. Third, developing a high speed rail corridor. Incorrect. Fourth, implementing a water conservation and irrigation project in Aravali foothills. Incorrect. So the correct option is option A. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought here. Here the question says, which of the following groups of states have significant concentration of coal-based thermal power plants? You know why we are discussing this question? Because there was an article in the news that there are few states in our country which are the consumers of the electricity, or we can say consumers of the energy, and few states which are the producers. But the difference is, in the producer states, when they produce the electricity through these thermal power plants, what they did, they don't use everything for themselves. They send it to the different states. But unfortunately, when they are producing this much electricity, they are producing this much power, they, one thing is associated with it is the environment pollution. This environment pollution is felt by the states which are producing it, not by the states which are consuming it. So this is the whole discussion. Now the article here talks about how it can be restored. Even we have, under the Paris Agreement, we had the goals, nationally determined contributions, that we will reduce the carbon emissions by 45% by 2020 by 2030 as compared to 2005. What we were emitting in 2005, will reduce that by 45% till 2030. And also we will use 50% of renewable energy. But at the same time, we are seeing that those states, those poor states which are generating that much power based on the coal energy, based on the fossil fuels, are not consuming they are not consuming that power for itself. They are sending it to the different states. But the burden of the pollution which they are facing is very huge, and the author talks about there is a need that the consumers, the states which are consuming this energy, they should they should compensate it. They should give the taxes, they should compensate it with the states which are producing it. They should give the funds to the states, so that this emission which they are producing in their environment, that can be reduced. With respect to that, the pressure on those poor states would be reduced. This is the whole concept of this discussion. Now here, what are the states which are mostly using coal based thermal power plants to generate energy? What are the states? These states are Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Odisha. These are the states which use coal-based thermal power plants, because coal is very much in abundance in these particular states. So they particularly use coal-based thermal power plants to generate energy. Because of that, there is huge pollution in their particular states, the huge emissions, and we are determined to reduce the emissions. They don't have the resources to reduce that. So what can we do? They are sending this energy to the states like Maharashtra, Gujarat and UP. Maharashtra, Gujarat and UP, even though they are using the renewable energy sources, but still, depending upon their population, they need extra energy, and they are getting it from these states. So what does the author say? That these states should compensate what they are emitting. This is the whole discussion of this news articles. I hope you had understood the question and also the context of the question. Here, what does the question say? Which of the following states, groups of states, have significant concentration of coal-based thermal power plants? It is Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Orissa. The correct option is option C. With this, let's move to the another question from the current affairs today, and that would be the last question from current affairs. Let's see what we had brought. The question is basically about the selection committee of the chief election commissioners and election commissioners in India. Why we are discussing this? Because the chief election commissioner has been appointed, and it is Gayanesh Kumar, who was the election commissioner, and it has been appointed as the chief election commissioner. Gayanesh Kumar, Mr. Gayanesh Kumar has been appointed as chief election commissioner. So with respect to that, let's give it the final touch, which is the selection committee. For that, the committee consists of the prime minister, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, or the leader of the largest opposing party if there is no recognized leader of opposition, and the union minister nominated by PM. 100% correct. The correct answer to this is option D. With this, I hope we had discussed it many times. I hope you had understood the question here. Now with this, let's move to the another part of our discussion, where we have to solve some static topic based questions. Let us see what static topic question we had brought today. Here, as you know, we are currently discussing the office of the vice president under Indian polity. So today we are going to discuss a separate topic which is based on the disputes regarding the election of the vice president. So let us see which is the body which solves these disputes, what is the procedure and all that related to it through this question. Here the question says, regarding the disputes related to the election of the vice president of India, which of the following statements are correct? First statement, all disputes related to the election of the vice president are incurred into and decided by the Supreme Court of India. 100% correct. This is the original and exclusive jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India to decide over the election disputes of president and vice president. So it is Supreme Court of India. Second, no election petition calling in question the election of the vice president can be admitted unless it is presented within 30 days from the date of the declaration of the result of the election 100% correct, and then no such election petition calling the question of the election of the vice president can be admitted unless it is presented within 30 days from the date of the declaration of the result of the election, and the security deposit they have to provide is 20,000. The security deposit they have to provide is 20,000. So second statement is also correct. Third statement, the Supreme Court's decision on disputes related to the vice president's election is final and binding, 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be option D, that is 1, 2 and 3. So with this we understood who is the body which deals with the vice president elections of the vice president, disputes related to the elections of the vice president. It is the original and exclusive jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and its decision is final, and this should be, the petition should be given within the 1 month after the results are declared, and the security deposit is 20,000. So with this we understood the static topic of today also. Now let's move to the last part of our discussion where we will solve a previous year question. Here currently, as you know, we are discussing the questions related to physical geography, and this question was asked in, basically it was asked in 2018. And see, let's see what does the question talk about. The question here talks about what explains the eastward flow of the equatorial counter current. What explains the eastward flow of the equatorial counter current? Let's look at the statements. Convergence of two equatorial currents, no. Difference in salinity of water, no. Acronym of the belt of calm near the equator, no. It is the Earth's rotation on the axis, we can say Coriolis force, 100% correct, Coriolis force. So the correct option with respect to this question is option 1. With this, I hope you had understood the topics which we had brought today. You had understood every concept, and in this question which was asked in the previous year, you know, it is not solely based on the technique. Sometimes, most of the times, the questions are fully based on the knowledge. You know, in such questions you need the knowledge, which is very much important for you. You know, if these are the options and you know any one of the option is correct, then go for that only. It is very much based on your common understanding, you know, in this type of questions where you have to choose one out of the 4 options. So for such questions which you feel is correct, of which you have the basic knowledge, go for that. Trust your intuitions, trust your knowledge. So the correct option is option 1. With this we complete our discussion. I hope you would have liked it, you would have understood every topic which we discussed here. If there is any confusion, please do write in the comments. We'll try our best to reach out to you guys and clear that. So thank you very much, thank you for staying with me, and have a nice day.